Hello, it's Jim Hutchins for the Jerusalem Connection Truth Report for this 30th day of August 2017. I want to quote from an article by Olivier Melnick. He's a Jew, and he has an article entitled Antifa, the anti-fascist, joins BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions, and asks the question, what could possibly go wrong? He says, there is currently in America a political, social, and racial polarization that is reaching levels of animosity never reached before. Trump supporters blame the previous administration, and Democrats blame the new president. Regardless, it is changing the fabric of America at a rapid pace and presents some serious risks to several minorities, including the Jews. One group that has emerged around the time of Mr. Trump's victory, if not slightly before, was the group labeled Antifa, an abbreviation for anti-fascist or anti-fascism. They seem to be reacting and protesting Trump's every move and policy, labeling them as fascist at the core. They claim to fight racism, homophobia, sexism, and capitalism. Antifa comprises people who would position themselves on the extreme left, also known as alt-left. They are a prominent voice, a growing prominent voice of the Democratic left. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Jewish community and or Israel's right to exist, Antifa are not helping. There is a new trend on American university campuses linking Antifa with BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It's anti-Semitic, it's godless, it has no moral compass, it is lawless, and it's a growing voice among the Democratic left. From the stance of protesting fascism, oppression, and colonialism, Antifa and BDS seem to be on the same page, at least politically, ideologically, and again, it's bad news for the Jews. Neo-Nazi and white supremacists are a clear danger to the Jewish community, and so is Antifa. And now that we're starting to see Antifa teaming up with BDS proponents, the horizon is becoming gloomier for my Jewish people who once again in our history are being sandwiched between two groups who hate them, that is the Jewish people. And while Antifa and BDS might not seem to seek a joint photo op to declare their anti-Semitism, they do line up ideologically, anti-Semitically. They are together, joined at the hip. At a time in our history when anti-Semitism has morphed into a hungrier and angrier beast, we do not need to be sandwiched between the alt-left and the alt-right. These were the people that were prominent in the conflict at Charlottesville. We already have our hands full with the radical Islam and with some of the evangelical church teaching replacement theology and Christian Palestinianism. Really, when Antifa joins BDS, what could possibly go right for the Jews? And with that in mind, Denise D'Souza, a New York Times bestseller author, has written the book The Big Lie. And he picks up on this subject and really examines it very closely. He says, the big lie is now back. This time it is about the role of fascism and Nazism in American politics. The political left, backed by the mainstream of the Democratic Party. Note that, the political left, backed by the mainstream of the Democratic Party, insists that Donald Trump is an American version of Hitler or Mussolini. The GOP, they say, is the new incarnation of the Nazi Party. These charges become the basis and rationalization of seeking to destroy Trump and his allies by all means necessary. The, quote, fascism card is also used to intimidate conservatives and Republicans into denouncing Trump for fear of themselves of being branded and smeared. Nazism, after all, is the ultimate form of hate, and association with it the ultimate form of hate crime. In this book, D'Souza says, I turn the tables on the Democratic left and show that they, not Trump, are the real fascists. They're the ones who use Nazi intimidation and bullying tactics and subscribe to a full-blown fascist ideology. The charges they make against Trump and the GOP are actually applicable to them. The self-styled opponents of hate are the actual practitioners of the politics of hate. And through a process of transference, leftists blame their victims for being and doing what they themselves actually do. In a sick inversion, the real fascists in American politics masquerade as anti-fascists and accuse the real anti-fascists of being fascists. And as I've read that, I'm impressed, and I'm recalling the words of Isaiah. In Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20, Yahweh says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight." And this is what God says. "For they have rejected the law of Yahweh Almighty and spurned the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore Yahweh's anger burns against this people, and his hand is raised, and he strikes them down." That's what is in the future for Antifa, for BDS, for the anti-Semitism of the Democratic left. Therefore Yahweh's anger burns against this people. And that's the truth.